And with that, the 2023 NASCAR season comes to a close. Let's break down the championship races from Phoenix. Welcome to the last recap episode of 2023. I cannot believe we are already at the end of the season. I already recapped the truck and Xfinity races on my social media platforms at Above the Yellow Line or at _TaylorKitchen_ on other social media platforms, but we'll talk about them pretty lightly here. The truck race was rather chaotic, to put it lightly, with Hocevar, Heim, Rhodes, and Enfinger. When it's all said and done, though, Ben Rhodes captures his second Truck Series championship. This race was messy. There were about, 12 cautions, 4 overtime finishes, 2 championship contenders took each other out, which sparked criticism on social media from drivers and industry members alike. Even Tony Stewart had something to say about it, and we all know that smoke speaks his mind, no regrets attached. He talked about it after the Xfinity Series race. We'll get to that in a second, though. But yeah, not the best display from the Truck Series to end their season. Really did not feel like a championship race there. I know Hocevar ended up going way too deep into one of the corners, got to the bumper of Heim, spun him out. Heim took it a little personally, thought it was intentional. And then laps later, Heim took Hocevar out. Heim does maintain that it was unintentional, though. So yeah, a lot definitely happened there, but it was a nice, refreshing race on the following day for the Xfinity Series, a hard-fought, respectful race for that championship title between Justin Allgaier, Sam Mayer, John Hunter Nemechek, and Cole Custer. After the first 10 laps of the race, where there was 2 cautions, one of those involved a championship contender and Justin Allgaier, he spun out. Things pretty much calmed down until the last few laps where it was go time for these drivers. There was an overtime restart, which got pretty intense. They went 3 wide for the race win for a championship title. It was so good, and none of them had to wreck each other out for a championship, which was also really lovely to see. The winner of this race and of the championship was Cole Custer. He had a lot to prove in this season and this race specifically, trying to go for a championship. He went from Cup to Xfinity to try to prove he can still race with the best of the best each weekend, and he did just that. So always fantastic racing from the Xfinity Series. Congrats to Cole Custer and Ben Rhodes on their championships in their respective series. Speaking of intense and respectful racing from the Xfinity Series, the Cup Series amplified that by 10 million. That was one of the most intense championship battles I have seen in a long time. And for the first time for the Cup Series in this playoff format, the championship winner did not win the championship race. The winner was Ross Chastain. Pretty cool there, but the winner of the championship, though, this was a tough battle, but Ryan Blaney is your 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion. And with Blaney's title win, this means that for the first time in Ford's history that they sweep the playoff weekend from truck all the way up to Cup. This is also the first time since 2001 that a manufacturer has swept the championship weekend, a stat from ATYL's very own Dom Joseph. There are several moments during this race I want to highlight very quickly. First off, unfortunately for Christopher Bell, around lap 111, he had a brake rotor blow and he was not able to finish this race, so that took out one of your championship contenders there. He complained about brake issues very early on. Around lap 10, I tuned into his radio and he said, hey, I had to turn on the brake fans. And so that was pretty early signs that his brakes were not going to stand the test of time. A tough way to end that season for the 20 team, but again, making it to the championship for yet again, they have to be very proud, and of course that proves that they could potentially make it to the championship for yet again in 2024. Focusing a little bit more on our championship winner, Ryan Blaney, and yes, I'm going to be saying championship too many times during this episode, but please bear with me. There were several times where I did not think this 12 team was going to get the win. They clearly, I think, had the best car out of all of the championship contenders, but he lost spots on pit road quite a few times. I think there were 2 stops where he lost 4 spots and he had to fight to gain those positions back. In stage 2, his car was not the best handling and he fought very hard with it. He also had a very tense and perhaps over-aggressive battle with Ross Chastain to try to get the race lead, but it was very difficult to pass, and Blaney got very frustrated. He ended up getting to the bumper of Ross Chastain, and I thought then and there his championship hopes were over, whether he damaged the car or whether he was using up too much of his equipment to where Larson was able to catch up just enough to be able to get the lead, and Blaney had nothing left to give, but obviously, that was not the case. What helped Blaney is that he had a great long-run car, while I think Hendrick Motorsports, throughout the entirety of the weekend, practice and qualifying, showing this in their speeds, had great short-run cars. And Blaney, of course, in that 12 team went to work, and in that final stage, stage 3, they helped him more on the short run, which I don't think ultimately hurt a lot of his long-run speed. I think they found a really good balance to help him win this championship. We did have a late race caution, but even within those lap 30 laps, I think it became pretty apparent that this championship was going to be between Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney. They had, at the the end of the day, the strongest cars of the championship four. Unfortunately, William Byron just kind of faded off a little bit too much towards the end there. But isn't this insane? When the playoffs hit, that 12 team caught on fire. I've said it before, I have said it again. Even too, like, imagine saying Ford was going to win the championship this year in the Cup Series. When the season started, they were not strong at all compared to Chevrolet or Toyota. So kind of looking back, I don't think any of us could have called this, except if you're Dale Jr. Dale Jr. was right. He called it at the beginning of the year that Ryan Blaney would be the champion. So congrats to him on being right. But yeah, it's really wild if we looked back and kind of to see where we are today with this 12 team and the strength. And even then, this is a different Blaney than I think we've seen in the past playoff runs. He has a different attitude. That 12 team has a different attitude, and clearly it worked. So this win for Ryan Blaney, what does it mean for the sport? I think this means a lot, and it's big for the sport. Ryan Blaney, I've always said this, and you could probably look back at live stream clips I've done, or even to just recaps that I've done, but Ryan Blaney is such a great advocate for the sport. He's great with his sponsors, his fans, his team. He's great with the media. He takes advantage of media appearances. He has been fantastic for the sport of NASCAR, and as a champion, he will continue to do so in a much brighter light. I also don't think I could sit here and tell you the last time we had a champion that I think was universally loved on social media as well. I have not seen one negative comment yet. I've seen disappointed comments, but nobody mad that Ryan Blaney is your champion this year. And even to the drivers congratulating Blaney after the race, whether they drove their car alongside his or whether they congratulated him on the stage. He is such a well-liked person within this industry, so him being the champion is going to take this industry very far. With that said, though, let's look at the rest of your results for this final race of 2023. Of course, Ross Chastain first, Blaney second, another P2 at Phoenix, Kyle Larson in third, and what a season this 5 team has had. They talked about how it was riddled with mistakes, but this is a race that they did execute flawlessly, so they're going to leave this race, of course, disappointed, I'm sure, but with their heads held high. William Byron in fourth, he led 95 laps. The car was so good in clean air, but when he got in dirty air, it just wasn't the same. The winningest driver of this season will not come out of this with a championship, but again, a building block for the 2024 season. I think this 24 team has a chance to get it done in 2024, maybe pulling a Joey Logano 22 in 2022. I think maybe they have a shot at the championship next year. We have Buescher in 5th, Truex 6th, Kevin Harvick in 7th in his final Cup Series start. He really did look like he had the car to win this event, and this is 21 straight top 10s at Phoenix, which is unheard of. Kevin even talked about how important it was for him to leave the sport still competitive, and I personally think this is important too. We've seen so many drivers retire from the sport that were totally not competitive. They were a top 20, top 30 car, maybe just, it was bad. Kevin Harvick is not leaving the sport this way. He's leaving with his legacy intact, and even to like pre-race with Keelan and Piper on the radio telling their dad congratulations on his career and good luck during the race. If Kevin Harvick wasn't crying, I was crying. It was very emotional, but I cannot thank Kevin Harvick enough for all that he has done for this sport as a driver and what he will continue to do in the Fox booth. He'll be missed on track, and it's definitely the end of an era, but I am really glad that we're still going to have him in the industry in some shape or form. So that's Kevin Harvick finishing his final race of his Cup Series career in the 7th position. In 8th, we have Denny Hamlin. 9th, Michael McDowell. And 10th, Bubba Wallace in his Star Wars paint scheme. Gotta love it. 13th is Eric Almirola. This is his last race as a full-time Cup Series driver. And in 21st, Ty Gibbs winning the Rookie of the Year award for the Cup Series. Talking about the race rating here, stage 1, not the best, but that's expected. Stage 1s usually aren't the best in these races, right? But stage 2 picked up the pace, picked up the intensity. I was on the edge of my seat because there was no clear favorite necessarily to win the championship. Of course, Blaney seemed to have the best car, but he wouldn't always have the track position. He would always get stuck behind other cars in the field, whether they're the championship 4 or just the rest of the cars that were not in the championship 4. It was a back and forth type of race that had everybody on edge. And that final stage was just phenomenal, and this is the championship race that I have been waiting for at Phoenix, one that is this competitive, because in the past, it hasn't been this competitive, so I was happy to see this time. Now, in terms of Phoenix as a championship track, though, I am still not a fan of it. Phoenix draws a crowd every single year for their championship races, and I cannot express my gratitude towards the folks at the track and NASCAR for putting together a fantastic final race of the season, from the facility itself, which I've heard is incredible, to the at-track activations, to the fans' experiences that they have at the track. I know they do an incredible job, but the product at the track itself is not my favorite. We still have issues with passing, which became incredibly frustrating during this race. However, the difference between this year and years previous is The pole sitter didn't win the race this weekend. I think none of the pole sitters ended up winning the race. Though pit stall number 1 really did help you, I didn't totally see it as an advantage at the end of the day because of how everything shook out. But I do think that was just a product of this weekend and the contenders we had in the championship 4 and just the luck that people had and the bad luck that people had. And even too, it did come down to who had the better car this time around in all 3 series, I think, which was very positive. I'm not saying anything new though, and I'm sure I could have worded my thoughts on this race way better. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna give this one an 80%, which is definitely above the yellow line. Again, one of the better championship races I've seen at Phoenix in the past few years. So a positive into the season, we are above the yellow line. Though this is the last recap of the season, Above the Yellow Line is not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. We are still going to give you some great off-season content. Myself and the ATYL crew are still going to be going live most Thursday nights during the off-season. This coming Thursday, we're going to be doing the ATYL 2023 Awards banquets, so stay tuned for that. We're all going to share our favorite moments of the season. And if you're wondering what content we have in store for you during the off-season, get ready for interviews, tier lists, merchandise hauls, so much more. So get ready for it. We are not leaving you hanging with the NASCAR content. Hopefully it'll tie you over until we get to Daytona in 2024, which is going to come sooner than we think. But what did you think of this championship race? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we are done with the 2023 season. I am excited to see what NASCAR has in store for us next year. Thank you all for supporting me this season. I've been able to go to so many tracks, follow my dreams, report on the spot. It's been awesome, and I am excited to see what opportunities are in store next year. Excited to announce my plans, hopefully very soon, for the 2024 season. But thank you all so much for supporting me, Above the Yellow Line, the entire Toby Christie team. And until next time, I will see ya. Bye. Want more NASCAR content? Make sure to click the videos on the screen and the links in the description.